for?
We don't pay for August.
Okay, so it's going to add those questions, right? And you could continue at this place.
Since
Get
it's
out of
so
here.
much, whenever you
Yeah, right.
I can let you bring it up.
If you want to, right?
Is he referring to these as students?
Like everything has to now been cut out. Was he leaving? Well, they would cut back. She was saying you just have to do it by your years. So it would just be like
Here's my answer.
and that would
Instructor response and we're
because like
And then I just emailed to Jen. Back saying we got the online version for all of them. Which has a lot of things that we can use online with the student. Never use it. Because we couldn't get
It definitely had,
Is this the one you were looking at?
no, sir, it was the one about that one right there. Right here, they had to convert from miles to feet and from hours to seconds. So it was a true dimensional analysis from where they had to change 2 different units. And that,
She's speaking Italian.
because not.
So we made them, so we.
Oh, wow.
So we.
it is mostly multiple choice. It is very few, it's like 6 free response. It is mostly multiple choice,
Like that.
but it has that kind of question on it.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't
we,
just, it
so
doesn't,
we require them to show their work, then that would work.
yeah.
Oh, bless you.
But I mean, I think you can still use that as a formative right here, because that's an extremely powerful formative if somebody just said, put whatever they wanted, and then you had them all, you could tell that nobody knew what was going on.
Now, the part that in my mind, I was thinking formative, but now that you're here presenting, it's so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this is so
But this
much
would give us an opportunity to still use it in the formative setting and show them this is the kind of stuff we're going to see on the test. But I could
Absolutely.
still get pretty quick results, and I could talk about it at the same time
Absolutely.
without ever having to deal with the piece of paper.
Right.
Are there questions in an item bank for each subject?
No, I sent you the list, so not for each subject, and they're going to be heavily weighted again for those milestones test.
Well, okay, so Lance, I just want to be specific. I mean, ELA, because I do a 9th grade and an 11th grade milestone. Is there like an item bank for that as well on here? Because I know, I mean, the milestone does have more, you know.
But isn't that what we were talking about earlier about the questions and how they milestone questions look and what we give them?
Mhm.
We want them weighted, we want that question, that type of question.
Be a step.
that we give on our formative, we want that. So we got a bank with those type of questions that's already there. That helps.
Well, you can actually type in the standard number,
Yeah.
and it'll pull up that questions that is for that standard.
Come on, can I look at biology when he's done?
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin, for Spanish?
So there's
Only 5 people are each.
Is it not front and back?
9, 10 language arts.
6.
Look at that.
Sure.
Another list. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't make that larger, but let's
The
just.
rest, that's right.
Send it questions.
What about that magnify button? You can't click on it?
Right?
Now I want to add 2 more.
So question 9,
Pass them around.
question 10,
You
yes.
don't have the Albanese ones. That's how you say it, Albanese.
And
They were the
then
best.
you go,
ALBANES.
there's a kind of a preview. This is what it should look like when it goes down to the student device, right? So this action slideshow.
That's a white bag. The best.
Is it only, is it like buy one, get one free day?
And then here's the passage, right? And then they're going through. This is, we're also doing a redesign on this that they're targeting to try to have here by fall, where it's going to be like the milestone, there'll be a split screen so that passage stays and show me all the related questions to this particular passage. So I've got, so we're getting, we built this as an ongoing formative platform for teachers, right? It is significantly more than that and has evolved toward that. We are We are the district tool in Dallas ISD that has 230 some odd schools. We started with one school about 4 years ago. So the schools like it, teachers like it, they love it, they tell other schools, we start getting more schools, more schools, more schools. Next thing you know, it goes up to the district level and they're like, hey, could we push an assessment out? Because we only do them 3 times a year. Could we send them out through All-in Learning and get, sure, you can do that. As long as it remains easy for teachers to use, it's no big deal then when a district assessment comes your way, because it's the tool you use daily, right? Fine, and just the data's going to flow. I'll see it, but it's also going to flow up into those district reports that who knows what they do with them, but they will. Okay, so you're right, it's evolved way beyond just being a formative platform, but we fundamentally believe as a company that it's the ongoing formative piece that drives student achievement, right? So I get more and more districts and schools that are asking me, well, we need to be able to mirror the Georgia milestones. You got to be able to do this, you got to have this, and you got to have an eraser, you got to have a compass, and you got to have a ruler, and you got to have this, and you know, if we change our core beliefs and we go chase the Georgia milestone, by the time we can deliver that, they will have made a U-turn and said, yeah, you know, we're realizing that there's no improvement in student performance. We're just going to leave that up to you guys. You'll figure it out on your own now. Meanwhile, we've spent all our time and effort going that way. So it doesn't mean over time we want to add more things that are going to allow you to more replicate the milestone, but that's going to come over time, and we're not going to lose our focus on what it is. And you know, the more of those things you add, the more complicated it becomes, which means you're going to start, you reach a certain level of complication, there are teachers that start dropping off, and then they stop dropping off pretty quickly. You're all part of the leadership team, so chances are you don't drop off, because probably one of the reasons you're in the leadership position that you're in with the department, but you already know it. So it's kind of a balance that we have. You guys have devices. Would you like to see what it looks like if you activate it down to a device?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to activate the math one, because that's the one we built first, okay? And so who has a device?
She?
So yeah, let me just make sure I got enough bubble sheets here. And then I'll also bring up, I can go on an incognito page, and I can show you up here what it looks like if you don't have a device. Now these may be a little bit hard to read on your phone, okay? But we're going to activate this assessment. So I could certainly bring in, where we talked about clickers, I could build an answer key and collect data via clickers, but we got to do that kind of collectively as a classic once. We scanned the bubble sheets earlier. We went into manual grading because we did our evaluations of the interpretive dance performance. We can use Engage and Learn. Engage and Learn is you're going to take it on a device, okay? And then we also have an integration with Google Classroom. So somebody mentioned Google Classroom in here, right? So we will sync with Google Classroom. So when you build your classes, you send out your invitations or whatever, you can sync that data in the classroom, the students, into All-in Learning, so you don't have to build your class.
I was going to ask you that, because I know some of us have used Classroom in the past year. We just got it as a district, and I was going to ask about, because some of the things on here in terms of like your data collection, like item analysis and things like that, it'll do that as well. Can it just go from here to here? And
right now, our initial integration with Classroom is, hey, you've already got your classes built. You're going to sync those over. And then what we're getting ready to do with Engage and Learn, think of that. You're going to activate that. There'll be an embedded link in your classroom. And they're going to pretty much go through this process. They're going to think they're in Classroom, but it's kind of a...
But it's being, like, the information and grading is being sent over here?
It is, yeah. It's all going to be, because everything's going to be in one platform. It's in our platform, right? Yeah, the data's coming in here. So we're going to say, hey, we want to use Engage and Learn, okay? So that means I have students. Now, if I have students that don't have a device, or their device is acting up that day, I can still hand them the test in the bubble sheet, and I'll be able to scan those, right? Or for whatever reason, they didn't opt into the program, if they have to sign an insurance waiver. I don't know how it's done here. I'm going to activate my class, and then because this is going to be a quote-unquote online assessment, I need to answer some questions here, all right? So am I passing out a paper copy of the test, and then they're just going to tap their answers in on the device? If so, I'm going to say paper copy, and then what's going to come up on your device is going to be an answer key. That's it, right? This one, because we built it from the item bank, there are questions that we're going to deliver down to that device, all right? And then there's a couple of security sessions here. So if it's a formal assessment, do I want to log them out? If they go open up another browser page, do they want to be kicked out and have to log back in?
Yes.
Right? So we had to build that. Again, we built it for the formative piece. We had a district that started using these for their benchmarks assessments, right? And then they said, we found out our kids were cheating. You know, they're really quick at opening other pages and Googling answers. I'm like, you know, isn't that kind of what we want? We want to go find the information. Well, never mind. But so yes, I can check yes and kick them off. Or no, I want them to allow them to go in and out, okay? We'll say, yep, they open up another browser, they're going to be out.
Yes.
I also can, we haven't updated our there's an app for iOS devices called Engage and Learn. You can still get there through a link I'll give you, but that hasn't been updated. So we can't scramble, but because if you're on a computer, we can say, hey, I want to present the questions. We're just going to randomly present the questions to different students so that we're not all on, question one for all of us is not going to be the same, so that the wandering eyes, I got to be looking at your computer, right, when you're happy to be on the question I'm on, okay? And then what information, when they're done with their assessment, what information do I want to give them? So I may give them, I say, look, I'll tell you how you did on that, but I'm not going to show you which questions you got right or wrong because I got another class coming in here later. Or I may not want to give you any feedback at all. I just want you to submit it. We'll talk about your grade, or you need to come up and ask me what your grade is. It just depends on individual preference. This is all individual teachers are going to make this decision when they activate this. We're going to click Next, and we're going to click Activate. Okay? And from a student's perspective, I can't be in two accounts at once. I'm going to go to incognito. So for those of you with a device, if you'll open up Chrome and type in students.allinlearning.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you are on a device that has camera and flash enabled, you can scan a QR code, right? And it can be one just off of a bubble sheet, or you have the ability of printing enlarged QR codes. Okay?
Students.allinlearning.com.
There's also directions for, so Chromebooks don't have a camera that can be used with Adobe Flash. They can plug in a unique number. So who went to students.allinlearning.com and are getting prompted to use your camera?
Yep, Google Chrome.
Anybody get there?
I'm having Apple device.
Students.allinlearning.com.
The web filter didn't allow me to get there.
Students. Dot all in one.
Ask me for a username and a password.
All in learning.
Well, now it's taking you to the teacher side.
That's the scan student code. Scan student QR code.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But now it says get Adobe Flash.
Yeah, that's what mine says.
See if that was scanned.
What was the website one more time now?
Students.allinlearning, did you get there too? Where the camera's active?
No, it asked me to put sign with my Google account, and now it says that's invalid.
It says we're entering your Engage and Learn ID from your personal QR.
Mine says scan student QR code.
Does it allow you to scan?
It doesn't, but it says type ID.
Okay, so let me get, so this would be, and so I think Samantha's in this class. So you see this ID, right? That's going to identify that QR code. And then it's asking for a pin. The pin is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Docs.
So when I
All in learning.
Well, we've got an app, we just need to update the app. So, and Aaron did not do too well on that particular assessment. You got a 0, so that's already in. I was in as Aaron. I typed in my answers, right? If I go into the manual mode, we're showing you what the correct answer is, and what, here's the correct answer. This is what he responded, right? Does this make sense? And again, if I had opened another browser and went to Google something, I would have to log back in. So there's some classroom management that comes along with this, because if they still have their QR code, they could go Google something and just scan right back in. Once they submit for a particular answer, we record that. So it's saved in a temp table, because we got to allow, we're a cloud-based program, we got to allow for there to be an interruption, an afternoon thunderstorm, and all of a sudden, we lose the internet for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. The whole class will be kicked out. So if this is a high-stake, what I call a high-stakes assessment, what they're doing is having kids log in. So what they've done in the district that uses this is they've taken these enlarged QR codes. They've got devices where the cameras all work. They have cut off the bottom portion of these. So those kids, they don't know what that number is. Like when you logged in, they don't know. They have to scan to get in. As soon as you're in, as a teacher, I'm collecting those QR codes back, which means you've got to raise your hand if you need to get back in. If you're the only one raising your hand, it wasn't the afternoon storm that came through, because we're going to bump everybody off if that's the case. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys able to get into the app?
I can't find the app.
Did you check, put all in learning and see if you get it. And again, you want to engage and learn, not the teacher app, which is Assist. And as a reminder, I didn't show this, but Brad, when I used your Lumens Ladybug up here, there's an app for iOS devices, and then there's one also for Droid devices. So for your phone, you could, hey, raise your hand when you're done with the test, and I may walk by.
Mm-hmm.
You got 10 more minutes. You want to work a little bit harder on that.
Assist is on
Assist is, oh, that's right. We took Engage and Learn down for phones. Most schools are not
on the
buying.
iPad.
You got it for the app. Most schools aren't buying phones for kids.
But it is on the iPad?
It is for the iPad.
Okay.
Yeah. What questions do we have for me?
Can I look at some questions for biology?
Absolutely not. Thank you for asking. Actually, did we create your account? Barbecue chicken arrived. Is classes, because once you get the email to go create your account, as soon as you log back in, we're going to say, hey, you don't have any classes created, okay? And really to do, you can go create stuff, play around with it, build stuff, you don't have to have any classes created. And it doesn't really make any sense for you to create classes yet, because you don't know everybody that's going to come in that door, right? Your enrollment's still going on, right? But under the classes tab, how does it work to create a class? Well, if I love Google Classroom and I've got all my classes set up in Google Classroom, I'm going to sync with Google Classroom. So the email that you use for Google Classroom, you need to make sure that's the same email that you have in All In Learning. Some places they're the exact same, other places it's a different domain that points to the Google Classroom, so it's a different email address. All right? So you're probably going to sync with Google Classroom. Well, not really. I don't know Google Classroom. I'm not interested in learning Google Classroom. How am I going to build a class in All In Learning? So I'm going to click the Add New Class button, which is, this is where we're going to take you as soon as you say, yeah, I want to build a class. You're going to name your class, just like in naming your assessments. Looking at data is important. Usually, it's going to be your name. Might be initial if there's a bunch of Smiths in here. And it might be algebra, and it might be fourth period or something, block A or whatever, okay? You'll put a couple of tags, so just choose a grade. You can put any grade, any subject, and I don't think we have interpretive dance, art and music, whatever it is, right? Your subject is not represented, just you can put any subject there. I'm going to click Save. Now what's going to happen before fall is someone's going to upload a CSV of every kid that's enrolled in Washington County High School. So when you go build your classes and teachers build their classes, I recommend the last name field. As you begin to type in last name, it's going to query the document, and you're going to get a drop-down menu. You're going to select the student you want, hit enter, or some of these computers will autosave. Right, this one auto-saved. I don't have to hit save or anything. I'm going to go add my second student, my third student. I know teachers don't like building classes. I will tell you this is going to be a sub 10-minute class build for you. If you have 4 or 5 or 6 classes, it's going to be less than 10 minutes. It goes pretty quick once the CSV's been uploaded. Right? There'll be nothing there now, so there's going to be no drop-down menu for you to choose from because nothing's been uploaded yet. Okay? This pad ID, when you're building your classes, pad ID, we're assigning that pad ID. That's the clicker number. So when clickers come in the building, you don't have to worry about going assigning a clicker to Megan. There's already one assigned. This is going to get out of order. It's going to, we assign the clicker when you input the student. We resort your class roster alphabetically for you, but you can print a cheat sheet, right? So you can print a pad cheat sheet. Once you use clickers with each class 2 or 3 times, they already know. They know in your class on pad 17, they come in and pick up pad 17. That part make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is also where you print your bubble sheets from. So I check the top box, it'll select every student in my roster. I'll go to one that's got a bunch more kids in it, right? And your bubble sheet options are a 20, a 3 or 4 part, a 40, a 60, or 100. So you're not printing custom bubble sheets every time. You're probably going to print a 40 or a 60 more than likely, right? If you're going to give a midterm that's going to have 45 questions on it, print a 60-question bubble sheet. If you use that 60-question bubble sheet and it's a 17-question quiz, we know you've activated. You're telling us when you go to Lessons Assessment Activate, you're telling us what type of assessment you're activating. So even if they bubble in all 60, we're only reading 1 through 17. Okay. Administrators like it because there is no custom print option. Well, I want a 17. Some guy was arguing with me in my last training last week. It was like, well, I want to print a 17-question bubble sheet. I use an app that lets me do that. I'm like, great. Go tell your administrator you print something every single day in that little printer that he's buying the cartridge for. So print it, make high-speed copies of it. What we recommend is you print a class set, make high-speed copies of that class set, or save it as a PDF. Send the PDF to the high-speed copier that's under a contract, the toner comes with it, everything, okay? It also allows you to laminate these and use these over and over again if you choose to, okay? QR code that is generated by us. It's unique to every single student in our system. Although on the bubble sheet, we will print student name, your name, and the class name, if you've named that particular class. But the QR code is tied only to Samantha. It's not tied to you. It's not tied to the class. That's by design, means you can laminate it. This bubble sheet can be used in anybody's, as long as Samantha's in your class, even though it's got my teacher name on it, if you scan it, it's going to process because she's in your class roster. That QR code identifies her. Okay? Also doesn't mean you have to print custom bubble sheets for every single class or every single assessment.
What happens when kids switch periods? Is that an easy switch to make?
Yep. You're just going to come into the class and you're going to say, let me go to one I never used. Right? Charles Watson is no longer in my class. I'm going to select Charles and I am going to delete him. And then whoever picked Charles up is just going to go into their class. Charles went into my 5th period class, and I'll just go add him down here.
And his name is going to kind of autofill.
Oh, yeah.
When you start.
Yeah. Because at any time, he's sitting in 5 or 6 different classes, depending on how many classes he's taken in the building, right?
Okay.
Yep. The data, once you collect the data, it goes into reports, it's with you. You assessed him on today, even though on Monday he's going to be in somebody else's class. We don't take that data and drop it into their account. You gave the assessment, the data's in your report.
Okay.
And And then let me log out of here real quick and go into the administrator side. I can remember. I'm sorry, you're critical coach. Erica, that you're going to be the one getting the email, right? You're going to create your account. You're going to log in, okay? And then as the teachers, or anybody that gets that teacher email, including Dr. Gray, you're going to send the email to him. He's going to create an account. And then when you go into your admin, so admin, that's just a quick snapshot of activity, right? Lessons and assessments, if you want to create something as a curriculum coach, or you got coaches here or whatever, you can certainly do that as an administrator. Reports of the data that's coming in, and we defaulted into, most people just want to look at that as common assessment type data, right? But this,
Is that?
what's wrong?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that there's no faking that you're using it. This is, it is right here,
Yeah.
and it's fixing to show him,
So if you
True
go to
that.
yes, you
reports,
are
go back to reports
using it, or no, you're not.
Reports, reports tab.
Yeah, I don't normally show this in front of teachers, actually. For that particular reason. What do you mean? I can't only use it on the days coming to evaluate, whereas it could, but he's gonna know.
So that'll give me all the
They-
science
they-
teachers,
Yep.
and then I can look at their data.
This is gonna take you into the this is basically taking you into the science PLC, so those common assessments, you can go right into and look at. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right, so you can actually look at something before you walk into the science meeting. You can already have maybe done some analysis to kind of prep. And what did you guys notice? This is kind of what I noticed. I've already looked at the data. What happened? Yeah. And so when, after they create their accounts, teachers and administrators, and then you'll go over, and Jim Brown initially is going to be a teacher, right? Edit, you can make Jim Brown an administrator, and now he's got adjunct. Okay. There's also a team leader. A team leader capability allows that person to build a PLC or a data team. You can also do that from the administrative tab. So depends on how you want to manage that. You make them a team leader, they're going to do exactly what I'm going to show you how you're going to build a PLC. So it's the exact same thing. So if you get team leader designation and they tell you to go build the PLC, this is what you're going to do. PLC data teams, you're going to click Create New. You're going to name your PLC. You're going to hit Save. My demo account, I got 1 million of them. You're going to click the Add Team Members. Okay. As a team leader, you'll automatically be on that data team because you're building it. Add teachers, and as long as they've created and validated their all-in-learning account, you can build your PLC and confirm it. And so now those three are on that team. So when any of them creates anything in their account and they say, hey, I want to share this, they can share it with the WHS ELA team. That allows the data to aggregate into one report. Okay, very easy to build. So you make, some schools will build them initially up front just to say, hey, it's already done. Other ones will say, hey, you're the team leader, here's how you do it.